Good day everyone, we are the Group 8 and we're gonna tackle about Chapter 9, Competing in International Markets. 9.1 Introduction. International strategy is the third and final type of strategy presented in this textbook. The first, generic business level or competitive strategy, is how companies directly compete with rivals or their products and services. Corporate strategy is how a firm might diversify to compete in other industries or expand geographically to reduce risk and grow profit. In international strategy, a firm may desire to expand by entering into new foreign markets or to lower its costs. There are advantages and opportunities when going international, but it is not without risk. There are several tools that firms use to help them assess their potential success when their strategic management process points them abroad. Firms will need to determine which one of four international strategies will work best and which method to enter another country. Some U.S. companies have found great success going international, while others have struggled or failed. 9.2 Advantages and Disadvantages of Competing in International Markets. South Korea automaker Kia announced plans for a significant expansion of its American production facility, aiming to increase capacity from 300,000 to 360,000 vehicles per year. The plant will also produce a sedan, the Optima, in September 2011. The expansion, estimated to cost $10 billion, is expected to increase 1,000 new jobs and increase Kia's market share for the 16th consecutive year. Kia's success led to the selections of West Point, Georgia as the site for its first U.S. manufacturing facility. The state and local authorities offered over $400 million in incentives, including tax breaks, free land, and infrastructure creation. Georgia's return on investment included 2,000 new jobs at the plant and hundreds of jobs at suppliers. Kia, a global automotive company, began a bicycle parts maker in 1944 and has since grown to become a major player in the industry. As of 2011, Kia produced over 2.1 million vehicles per year in 8 centuries, sold in 172 countries, and employed over 44,000 people. Hyundai, a South Korean automaker, owns just over 32% of Kia, and the two companies collaborate to strengthen and each other. Kia's slogan, "The Power to Surprise," has made rivals wonder what surprises the Korean company might have in store. Current projections suggest that trade across national borders will exceed the total dollar value of trade within all the countries. International strategy. International strategy is determining how to do business outside the borders of a firm home country. International business has opened up significantly in the last few decades. This has been due to lower trade barriers, improved communications, more efficient shipping via ship and airplane, and the internet. Many U.S. companies have shifted their manufacturing and supply chain activities abroad, where labor is cheaper and overall costs are reduced. Even with the additional cost of shipping, the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 illustrated some issues that emerge when economies such as with the US becomes dependent on other countries for the materials it uses for its final product. During the pandemic, the capacity for global supply chain to meet the sharp increase in demand for paper goods, cleaning suppliers, as well as for medications and other medical equipments and suppliers was immediately trained. International strategy for a firm can be somewhat minimal, such as procuring needed supply chain resources for manufacturing a product in the home country, to an expanded rule, like exporting products for sale in other countries, to full manufacturing subsidiaries such as the Kia example in the US. There are multiple reasons why a firm would go international and also multiple advantages and disadvantages. So here are the three key reasons why executive and entice to enter new market. First is access to new customers. Second, lowering costs. Third, diversification of business risk. The United States enjoy the world's largest economy. As an illustration of the power of the American economy, consider that in 2018, the economy of just one state, California, was the fifth largest in the world. If it were a country, it would rank between Germany and the United States, or United Kingdom, I mean. The size of the US economy has led American commerce to be very much intertwined with international markets. In fact, it is fair to say that every business is affected by international market to some degree. Tiny business such as individual convenience stores and clothing boutiques sells products that are imported from abroad. Meanwhile, corporate Goliaths such as General Motors, Coca-Cola and Microsoft conduct a great volume of business overseas. Access to new customers. Competing in international market is crucial for companies like McDonald's, which has a strong all-American identity. Despite the US accounting for only 5% of the world's population, selling goods and services to other 95% can be appealing. By 2011, Europe was McDonald's biggest source of revenue, 40%, while the US share fell to 32% by 2019. McDonald's US percent of total revenue had grown to 41%, making it a global powerhouse with less than half of its sales generated in its home country. China and India have been attractive market to US firms. The country are the two most populous in the world. Most nations have growing middle class, which means they have been building infrastructures like education and transportation system that support increased purchasing power. In other words, individuals in these countries can buy goods and services that are not merely necessities of life. This trend has created tremendous opportunities for some firms. In 2019, for example, GM sold more vehicles in China than it sold in the United States. This gap has continued from the list 2010. Low cost. Many firms that compete in international markets hope to great cost advantages. If a firm can increase its sales volume by entering a new country, for example, it may attain economies of scale that lower its per unit production cost. Going international also has implications for dealing with suppliers. The growth of overseas expansion leads to many businesses to purchase supplier in greater numbers. This can provide a firm with stronger leverage when negotiating prices with its suppliers. Offshoring has become a popular yet controversial means for trying to reduce costs. Offshoring involves relocating a business activity to another country. American companies are shifting their operations to cheaper labor countries like China and India, causing job losses in their home countries. This has led to a phenomenon known as reshoring, where jobs that were sent overseas are returning home. However, some companies find that the quality of workers overseas is not good enough. Diversification of business risk. A familiar cliche warns, don't put all of your eggs in one basket, applied to a business, which cliche suggests that it is dangerous for a firm to operate in only one country. Business risk refers to the potential that an operational might fail. If a firm is completely dependent on one country, negative events in that country could ruin the firm. Just like spreading one eggs in multiple baskets reduces the chances that all eggs will be broken. Business risk is reduced when a firm is involved in multiple countries. Consider, for the example, natural disasters such as the earthquakes and tsunamis that hit Japan in 2011. If the Japanese automakers such as Toyota, Nissan, and Honda sold cars only in their home country, the financial consequences could have been grave because these firms' operation in many countries. However, they were protected from being ruined by event in Japan. In other words, these firms diversify their business risk by not being overly dependent on their Japanese operation. American cigarettes companies like Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds face challenges in the United States and Europe due to declining tobacco use and increasing laws banning smoking in public spaces and restaurants aiming to remain profitable. For example, Philip Morris spent $5.2 billion to purchase a controlling interest in Indonesian cigarettes making some foreign. This was biggest accusations over Indonesia by a foreign company, tapping into Indonesia's population of approximately 230 million people was attractive to Philip Morris in a part because nearly two-thirds of men are smokers. And smoking among women is on the rise of the time Indonesia was the fifth largest tobacco market in the world, trailing only China, the United States, Russia, and Japan. To appeal to local preferences of cigarettes flavor with cloves, Philip Morris introduced a variety of its cigarettes Marlboro brand called Marlboro Mix 9 that includes cloves in its formulation. The use of pastel can be a valuable tool in assessing the risk of firm considering international diversification. Analyzing the industry within the largest country could provide valuable insight on whether to enter that market or not. For example, if Apple were to consider shifting some of its product manufacturing to India, what do the pastel forces reveal for the Indian IT industry? So, table 9.2 Pestos analysis of the IT industry in India. So, we have political, economical, sociocultural, technological, ecological, and legal. In 1957, a game developed by Oscar-winning film director Albert Lamourie called La Conquête du Monde, The Conquest of the World, was released in France. Currently produced by Hasbro, the board game, now simply called Risk, continues to entice players with the allure of world domination. Firms venturing into new markets must be willing to face the true risk on the global battlefield that we outlined below. First, political risk. Second, economic risk. And last, cultural risk. So, in political risk, although competing in international markets offers important potential benefits such as access to new customers, the opportunity to lower costs, and the diversification of business risk, going overseas also possesses daunting challenges. Political risk refers to the potentials for government upheaval or interference with business to harm an operation within a country. For example, the term Arab Spring has been used to refer to a series of uprisings in 2011 within countries such as Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Bahrain, Syria, and Yemen. Unstable governments associated with such demonstrations and uprising make it difficult for firms to plan for the future. Over time, a government could become increasingly hostile to foreign business by imposing new taxes and new regulations. In extreme cases, a firm's assets in a country are seized by the national government. This process is called nationalization. In recent years, for example, Venezuela has foreign-controlled operations in the oil, cement, steel, and glass industries. U.S. oil companies were expelled from the country. Economic risk refer to the potential for a country's economic conditions and policies, property rights protections, and currency exchange rates to harm a firm's operation within a country. Executives who lead companies that do business in many different countries have to take stock of these various dimensions and try to anticipate how the dimensions will affect their companies. Because economies are unpredictable, economic risk presents executives with tremendous challenges. Consider, for example, Kia's operations in Europe. Kia reported increased sales in 10 European countries relative to the prior year. And lastly, cultural risk. Cultural risk refers to the potentials for a company's operations in a country to struggle because of its differences in language, customs, norms, and customers' preferences. For example, a laundry detergents company was surprised by its poor sales in the Middle East. Executives believed that their product was being skillfully promoted using print advertisement that shows dirty clothing on the left, a box of detergent in the middle, and a clean cloth on the right. Let's proceed 9.3 Cage Framework. The Cage Framework helps a firm gauge the distance that the target country is from the firm home country on four dimensions. The greater the distance or difference, the more risk exists and the less opportunity there is for success. The four cage dimensions are: first, cultural distance, administrative distance, geographic distance, and economic distance. Cultural distance. This refers to the differences of cultures between the target and home countries. The history of relationships between nations provides one source of explanation for the closeness or distance or differences between cultures. Administrative distance. The legal and political system of the home and target countries determine the administrative distance between the two, or in countries where the political systems are different, for example, democracy versus communism, there is a greater distance and more uncertainty. Different laws between countries can make compliance and doing business more difficult. Geographic distance. The literal physical distance between the home and the target country are key considerations of this dimension. The more miles the countries are apart, the longer and more costly it is to go there or to ship from one to the other. But mileage is not the only factor. The ease of communication between countries is another. Advances in telephone and internet communications have made this almost a non-issue in most countries. And lastly, economic distance. International business between two countries is also impacted by the differences in their economic factors. The greater the differences in the two economies, the more difficult it is to be successful. One way to measure the difference is by GDP per capita. Countries with a similar GDP per capita have a greater opportunity for success if the purchasing power and disposable income of the target country are quite different from the one from home country. Working in the target country is more challenging.
9.4 Types of International Strategies. A firm that has operation in more than one country is known as a multinational corporation. The largest MNCs are major players within the international arena. Walmart annual worldwide sales, for example, are larger than the dollar value of the entire economies of Austria, Norway, and Saudi. Although Walmart tends to be viewed as American retailer, the firm earns 35% of its revenue outside the United States. Walmart owns significant number of stores in Mexico, Central America, Brazil, Japan, the United Kingdom, Canada, Chile, Botswana, and Argentina. Walmart also participates in joint venture in China and India. Even more modestly sized MNCs are still very powerful. If Kia were a country, its current sales level of approximately $21 billion would place it in the top 100 among the more than 180 nations in the world. Multinationals such as Kia and Walmart must choose an international strategies to guide their efforts in various countries. There are four main international strategies available. First, international; second, multi-domestic; third, global; and then lastly, transnational. International strategy. International strategy is the third and final type of strategy represented in this textbook. The first, generic business level competitive strategy, is how companies directly compete with rivals on their products and services. Corporate strategy is how a firm might diversify to compete in other industries or expand geographically to reduce risks and grow profits. In international strategy, a firm may desire to expand by entering into a new foreign markets or to lower its costs. There are advantages and opportunities when going international, but is not without risk. There are several tools that firms use to help them assess their potential success when their strategic management process points them abroad. Firms will need to determine which one of four international strategies will work best and which method to enter another country. Multi-domestic strategy. A firm using a multi-domestic strategy does not focus on cost or efficiency but emphasizes responsiveness to local requirements within each of its market. Rather than trying to force all of its American-made shows on viewers around the globe, Netflix customizes the programming that is shown on each channels within dozens of countries including New Zealand, Portugal, Pakistan, and India. Similarly, food company H.J. Heinz adapt its products to match local references because some Indians will not eat garlic and onions. For example, Heinz offers them a version of its signature ketchup does not include these two ingredients. Global strategy. A firm using a global strategy sacrifices responsiveness to local requirements within each of its markets in favor of emphasizing lower cost and better efficiency. This strategy is the complete opposite of the multi-domestic strategy. Some minor modification to products and services may be made in various markets, but a global strategy stresses the need to gain low cost and economies of scale by offering essentially the same products or services in each market. Microsoft, for example, offer the same software programs around the world, but adjust the programs to match global languages. Similarly, consumer goods making Procter & Gamble attempts to gain efficiency by creating global brands whenever possible. Transnational strategy. A firm using a transnational strategy seeks a middle ground between a multi-domestic strategy and a global strategy. Such a firms try to balance the desire for lower cost and efficiency with the need to adjust to local preferences within various countries. For example, large fast food chains such as McDonald's and KFC rely on the same brand names and the same core menus items around the world. These firms make some concession to local tastes too. In France, for example, wine can be purchased at McDonald's. This approach makes sense for McDonald's because wine is a central element of French diets. In Saudi Arabia, McDonald's serves a Mac Arabia chicken sandwich and its breakfast menu features no pork products like ham, bacon, or sausage.
9.5 Drivers of success and failure when competing in international markets. Strategy, structures, and rivalry. The United States has an overall trade deficit, but it enjoys a trade surplus within the service sector. First, domestic competition in industries such as hotels and restaurants has helped make American firms such as Marriott and Subway important players on the world stage. Factor conditions. The inputs present in a country shape a firm's global competitiveness. The rapid growth of Chinese manufacturers has been fueled by the availability of cheap labor. Demand conditions. Fuzzy domestic customers help firms prepare for the global arena. Japanese firms must create excellent goods to meet Japanese consumers' high expectations about quality, aesthetics, and reliability. Related and supporting industries. Firms benefit when their domestic suppliers and other complementary industries are developed and helpful. Italy's fashion industry is enhanced by the abundance of fine Italian leather and well-known designers. According to the model, the ability of the firms is an industry whose origin is in a particular country. Korean automakers or Italian shoemakers, to be successful in the international arena, is shaped by four factors. Number 1, their home country's demand conditions. Number 2, their home country's factors condition. 3, related and supporting industries within their home country. And last, strategy, structure, and rivalry among their domestic competitors. Demand conditions. Japanese consumers insist on a very high level of quality, aesthetics, and reliability. This forces Honda, Toyota, and Nissan to rise to a difficult challenge as well as preparing them to dominate internationally. Factor conditions. Factor conditions refer to the nature of raw materials and other inputs that firms need to create goods and services. Example, land. Russia has the greatest land mass of any country in the world and it enjoys vast oil deposits. This abundance of natural resources has helped Russia's petroleum industries become one of the largest in the world. Labor. India is the seventh largest country in terms of land mass, but its population size is second only to China because India graduates more English speakers annually than the United States. It should come as no surprise that Indian firms have gained ground in the international arena within industries that rely on engineering and computer skills. Capital. The capital market in the United States is one of the largest and most sophisticated in the world. This has helped American companies fund expansions and innovation over time, making them better prepared for international competition. Entrepreneurial ability creates national wealth when entrepreneurs develop new innovations that support key industries. Denmark's low startup costs and high research and development spending have fueled success in industries such as pharmaceuticals and medical equipment. Related and supporting industries. Related and supporting industries, a very strong agriculture business helped support the cattle industry, which accounted for approximately $8.33 billion worth of exports in 2018. Excels steelmakers and engine manufacturers supports the productions of one most lucrative exports commercial aircraft.
9.6 Options for competing international markets. When the executive in charge of a firm decide to enter a new country, they must decide how to enter the country. There are 6 basic options available. First, exporting. Second, licensing. Third, franchising. Fourth, creating a joint venture or strategic alliance. Fifth, acquisition or creating a wholly owned subsidiary. And sixth, greenfield or wholly owned subsidiary. These options vary in terms of how much control a firm has over its operation, how much risk is involved in what share of operation profits the firms get to keep. Exporting. Exporting involves creating goods within a firm's home country and then shipping them to another country. Once the goods reach foreign shores, the exporter's rule is over. A local firm then sells the goods to local customers. Many firms that expand overseas start out as exporters because exporting offers a low-cost method to find out whether a firm products are appealing to customers in other lands. Some Asian automakers, for example, first enter the US market through exporting. Small firms may rely on exporting because it is low cost and lower risk option. Once a firm products are found to viable in particular country, exporting often becomes undesirable. A firm that exports its goods loses control of them once they are turned over to a local firm for sale locally. Licensing. While franchising is an option within service industries, licensing is the most frequently used in manufacturing industries. Licensing involves granting a foreign country in exchange for a fee. This relationship often centers on patented technology. A firm that grants a license avoids absorbing a lot of costs, but its profits are limited to the fees that it collects from the local firm. The firm also loses some control over its technology is used. A historical example involving licensing illustrates how rapidly events can change within the international arena. By the time Japan surrendered to the United States and its allies in 1945, World War II had crippled the country's industrial infrastructure. In response to this problem, Japanese firms imported a great deal of technology, especially from American firms. When the Korean War broke out in the early 1950s, the American military relied on jeeps made in Japan using licensed technology. In just a few years, a mortal enemy had become a valuable ally. Foreign company the right to create company's product within. Franchising. Franchising is an attractive way to enter foreign markets because it requires little financial investment by the franchisor. Indeed, local franchises must pay the vast majority of the expenses associated with getting their business up and running. On the downside, the decision to franchise means that a firm will get to enjoy only a small portion of the profits made under its brand name. Also, local franchise may behave in ways that franchisor does not approve. For example, KFC was angered by some of its franchises in Asia when they started selling fish dishes without KFC approval. It is often difficult to fix such problem because laws in many countries are stacked a favor of local business. Thus, franchises are only succeed if franchises are provided with a simple and effective business model. Executives thus need to avoid expanding international through franchising until their formula has been perfected. Next is joint ventures and strategic alliance. In a joint venture, two or more organizations each contribute to the creation of a new entity. In a strategic alliance, firms work together cooperatively, but no new organization is formed. In both cases, the firm and its local partner or partners are decision-making authority, control of the operation, and any profits that the relationship creates. Joint ventures and strategic alliances are especially attractive when a firm believes that working closely with locals will provide important knowledge about local conditions, facilitate acceptance of their involvement by government officials, or both. In the late 1980s, China was a difficult market for American business to enter. Executive at KFC saw China as an attractive country because chicken is a key element of Chinese diets. After considering the various options for entering China with its first restaurant, KFC decided to create a joint venture with the three local organizations. KFC owned 51% of the venture, having more than half of the operation was advantageous. In case disagreements arose, a Chinese bank owned 25%, the local tourist bureau owned 14%, and the final 10% was owned by a local chicken producer that would supply the restaurant with its signature food item. Next is creating a wholly owned subsidiary, acquisition, and greenfield. In international strategy, a wholly owned subsidiary is a business operation in a foreign country that a firm fully owns. A firm can develop a wholly owned subsidiary through a greenfield venture, meaning that the firms create the entire operation itself. This usually means building and operating the facility. Another possibility in purchasing an existing operation from a local company or another foreign operator. Regardless of whether a firm builds a wholly owned subsidiary from scratch or acquires an existing company, having a wholly owned subsidiary can be attractive because the firm maintains complete control over the operation and gets to keep all of the profits that the operation makes. A wholly owned subsidiary can be quite risky. However, because the firm must pay all of the expenses required to set it up and operate it. Kia, for example, spent $1 billion to build its U.S. factory. Many firms are reluctant to spend such sums in more volatile countries because they fear that they may never recoup their investment. Next is 9.7, the conclusion. This chapter explains competition in international market. Executive must consider the benefits and risks of competing internationally when making decisions about whether to expand overseas. Using the CAGE framework helps firms decide the cultural, administrative, geographic, and economic distance between the home and target country. Executives also need to determine the likelihood that their firms will succeed when they compete in international market by examining demands, factors, condition related and supporting industries, strategy, structure, and rivalry among its domestic competitors. When a firm does venture overseas, a decision must be made about whether its international strategy will be international, multi-domestic, global, or transnational. Finally, when leading a firm to enter a new market, executive can choose to manage the operation via exporting, licensing, franchising, creating a joint venture or strategic alliance, and creating a wholly owned subsidiary from greenfield or acquisition.